How's it going? The expression we are going to cover right now is bury the hatchet or to bury the hatchet. To bury the hatchet means to forgive somebody. It means to end a conflict with somebody. This expression comes from American history in which two Native American tribes who were at war with each other decided to have peace with each other, to stop the wars. And one of the traditions that Native Americans would do to symbolize this peace is to take a hatchet and bury it in the ground. Um, by doing that, that was the declaration that there would be peace between these two tribes. Now, since then and up until modern times, we still kind of have this expression, bury the hatchet, which means to which means to end a conflict, to forgive somebody. Now there's many different variations in which you can use this in conversation. We're going to go over some of them, which are in the conversation flow chart. Now, first, we're going to start with the modal verb should and the verb needs to. These both have the connotation of necessity, of obligation, of duty. So I'm going to go with the first person pronoun, I. So I could say, I should or I need to bury the hatchet with my friend or my best friend. So there might have been a time where my friend and I got into an argument and we did not talk for a long time. But now it is time to forgive. So that's when I would use that expression. I should bury the hatchet with my best friend. Now, if I'm talking to you and let's say you have a sister that you are in conflict with. So for me, I could give you advice by saying you should or you need to. You need to bury the hatchet with your sister. You can look at the flowchart and see many of the different variations that you can make with this using should and need to. And you can make your own sentences using bury the hatchet. Now, this is something that's going to happen in the future. I have not buried the hatchet yet, but I'm going to. I will. Then I can say I'm going to or I'm gonna. That's gonna be slang for going to. It's not a formal English word, but it's gonna carry the same connotation. So I'm going to bury the hatchet with my dad. If my dad and I had a conflict of some sort. Um, Now we can be very flexible with the subject and the possessive pronouns. So let's say I had a problem with your brother. Um, so I can say I'm going to bury the hatchet with your brother. So again, lots of variations here, and you can look at the flow chart to see how all these can go together. Now, if we're referring to this in the past tense of to bury the hatchet is buried the hatchet. Um, so if I forgive my best friend, and let's say I forgave my best friend yesterday, I can say I buried the hatchet with my best friend. I buried the hatchet with my dad. I buried the hatchet with my mom. So on and so forth. You can, again, practice making these sentences. Now, if there comes a time when I'm talking maybe to you and there is a conflict that you have with a coworker, perhaps, um, and it's just been a long conflict. It's been long and drawn out. I may ask you the question, when are you going to bury the hatchet with your coworker? Or when are you gonna bury the hatchet with your coworker. Um, if you're asking about a third person, like a he or a she, you can say, when is he going to bury the hatchet with his mom? So you can also ask questions regarding when somebody is planning on ending a conflict. So this is the lesson for Bury the Hatchet, and I want to thank you very much for following along.